the white mother who died for black freedom. Most people have never heard her name. She wasn't famous. She wasn't a politician. She wasn't a preacher. She was a mother with 5 kids, a husband, and a modest home in Detroit. But in 1965, Viola Liuzzo left that home, got in her car, and drove hundreds of miles south to Selma, Alabama. She went because she couldn't sit by and watch others fight for justice while she stayed comfortable. And for that act of courage, she was murdered by the Ku Klux Klan. This is her story and why her sacrifice still matters today. Viola was born on April 11, 1925 in Pennsylvania. She grew up in a working-class family during the Great Depression. Times were tough, and she knew what it meant to struggle. She married young, divorced, and later remarried. By 1965, she was living in Detroit with her husband and their 5 children. She was balancing motherhood with classes at Wayne State University, studying nursing and education. She was active in her church, and she cared about people. In so many ways, Viola was just like any other American mother, ordinary, relatable, trying to do right by her family while keeping her eyes on something bigger. In March 1965, Selma, Alabama became the center of the nation's attention. We all know it now as Bloody Sunday. Peaceful marchers trying to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge were brutally beaten by police. Viola was at home in Detroit watching the news when she saw the images. John Lewis and others, their skulls cracked open, bloodied simply by demanding the right to vote. She was shaken. She turned to her family and said, "This is everybody's fight." Despite being a white suburban mother, Viola felt called to stand with Black Americans. She understood that silence was a choice, and silence always sides with the oppressor. So she drove to Selma. When she got there, she didn't take the microphone. She didn't look for a spotlight. She joined the volunteers of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, working behind the scenes. She drove marchers back and forth. She delivered supplies. She ferried activists from Selma to Montgomery. On March 25, 1965, she was part of history as 25,000 people marched from Selma and gathered at the Alabama state capitol. Viola was one of the people who made it possible. Courage doesn't always happen on the stage. Sometimes it happens in the background, in the details, in the service, in the quiet work that keeps a movement alive. But that same evening, after the march had ended, Viola was behind the wheel again, but this time she was driving a young Black activist, Leroy Moulton, along Highway 80. A car began following them. Inside were members of the Ku Klux Klan. They pulled up alongside Viola's car and opened fire. Viola was killed instantly. She was just 39 years old. Leroy survived only because he pretended to be dead. When the news broke, the nation was stunned. A white mother of 5 murdered by standing with Black freedom fighters? Her car, riddled with bullets, became a chilling symbol of the cost of courage. President Lyndon B. Johnson went on national television. He condemned the Ku Klux Klan and announced arrest, something no president had ever done before. Viola Liuzzo became the only white woman officially recognized as a martyr of the civil rights movement, and her death helped galvanize support for the Voting Rights Act of 1965, passed just months later. Sometimes one person's sacrifice is enough to move the conscience of a nation. But even in death, Viola was attacked. Segregationists and even the FBI spread lies about her. They whispered that she was immoral, that she had abandoned her family, that she was romantically involved with the Black man. It was a deliberate smear campaign because when you can't kill the cause, you try to kill the reputation. Her family and the civil rights community fought back, determined to protect her legacy. And this part of her story should sound familiar because it still happens today. When women and allies take a stand for justice, their character is often attacked in order to discredit the truth they carry. Today, Viola Liuzzu's name lives on. From Selma to Detroit, there are monuments, scholarships, and memorials that honor her. She is remembered alongside others like Reverend James Reeb, who also gave his life in Selma. Her children carried on her legacy, refusing to let her story fade. And her life continues to teach us this: ordinary people can make extraordinary sacrifices. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to be powerful. You just have to care enough to act. Viola Liuzzu was not perfect. She was human. But she chose courage over comfort. She chose love over hate. And when history called, she answered with her life. Her story asks us one simple question. When injustice knocks on our door, what will we do? Will we stay silent, or will we, like Viola, choose courage, no matter the cost? Remember her name, the white mother who died for Black freedom. Viola Liuzzu.